another example of how things have changed at the square. Remember how my cameraman Efren and I and my colleague Andrew and Mocha 2 weeks ago came down to the square to practice journalism, and we were threatened with trespass, and actually were told we were trespassing by these fellows, the City Hall security guards? Well, lo and behold, what a difference 2 weeks makes, eh? Because here we are practicing journalism right here in the public square, and a whole battalion of them just marched right past us. I guess our boss Ezra Levent was able to educate them on, I don't know, the Constitution, the law, even the bylaws pertaining to the Trespass Act. So we were not harassed one iota, which of course is the way it should be when it comes to journalism being practiced right here in the public square. David Menzies for Rebel News here in Toronto. And folks, before I get to our latest update on the situation at Nathan Phillips Square, please, if you can, contribute to journalistdefensefund.com. As you know, there are forces afoot that do not want Rebel News to bring you the other side of the story, and sometimes we need to hire security to ensure the safety of our reporters and cameramen. Well, folks, what a happy day. We were scheduled to come here this afternoon anyways to give you an update on Nathan Phillips Square, but as you can see, the filthy tent city that has occupied this square for precisely 3 weeks, illegally mind you, violating 11 sections of the Trespass Act. Finally, Mayor John Tory, through 21 days of negotiation, which basically came down to, could you please leave the square? Pretty please with sugar on top. Well, they have left the square. And it's interesting because one of the tips we received just yesterday is that there had been a rift between the natives and the blacks who comprise the group camping out here, known as the Afro-Indigenous Rising. And essentially what we were told is that all the natives had left. So it was just those of the Afro community that were here. To paraphrase the old saying, too many chieftains, not enough Indians, I would imagine. But it's a moot point now, isn't it? The other nugget of news is the fact that, as we brought you a couple of days ago, we discovered that the ringleaders, the Antifa types that were spearheading this ridiculous uprising, they weren't staying at those filthy tents here in the square. Oh, no. They were across the street right there at the Sheraton Hotel, where rooms start at $277 per night. We had one of the protesters show the key card for that very hotel.
Why not? I have a room in this hotel. Yes, can I show you my key? Yeah. I don't have a hotel. I have 2 room keys for the Sheraton right here.
Let me see the front of it.
So I can enter the hotel because I'm paying to sleep here.
Now, as always, whether it's a story about business or sports or politics, as the saying goes, follow the money. So where were they getting the money to stay at a hotel charging at least $277 per night for a room? Well, believe it or not, folks, they had their own GoFundMe page, and last time I checked, they had raised more than $49,000. So I wonder how the people who donated chunks of change to that, thinking they were funding an anti-racism initiative, did they know that their money was going to be used for the luxury and presidential suites at the Sheraton Hotel? No. So I guess who needs George Soros payola when you have enough social justice warrior liberals who obviously have more money than brains? And speaking of money, the vandalism that's being done to the square and the graffiti all around the square, it's going to cost a pretty penny to get that fixed. My suggestion to the city is, because they're sitting on a nest egg of almost $50,000, bill the Afro-Indigenous Rising, or perhaps just the Afro Rising, as the case may be. Why should the taxpayer have to pay for this? And let's not forget activities that had to be canceled because of this squatters camp, such as the fact that a farmer's market was supposed to be set up here on Wednesday, and of course that got canceled. Not that anyone in their right mind would go to a farmer's market with all the violent people that were squatting here. But at the end of the day, you have to wonder what triggered these radicals to finally leave. Or were they really and truly threatened with forceful eviction? Did John Tory have any choice? Because again, as we showed you earlier this week, folks, John Tory has no trouble with the public square being taken over by thugs for 3 weeks. But when those protesters went to his swank luxury condo at 1 Bedford Avenue, oh man, all the king's horses and all the king's men, they were immediately called to restore order. So at the end of the day, much like John Tory's precious condo development, there is a sense of order and safety that has been brought back to Nathan Phillips Square. People and families can once again walk the square without being shaken down by the people who started this autonomous zone and sacred circle. And what did we learn from this? Well, I hope we learned that the next time somebody chooses to disrespect and disobey the laws of the land, they are dealt with, as in immediately. Because as I've said on several occasions, folks, if you do not enforce the law of the land, really, is there any law to begin with? For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. If you can, please go to journalistdefensefund.com, and if you're able to, make a donation. You know we like to bring you the other side of the story, but there are some violent types that like to prevent us from doing so, and that means we have to hire security.